Mario Hezonja was one of the most polarizing players in his draft class just 3 years ago. European Kobe he was called, and many thought the 6'8" wing would dominate the NBA for years to come. But despite stories of his unabashed confidence and bravado, Mario Hezonja has looked incredibly up and down and at times without confidence in the NBA. And as a result, the Orlando Magic declined his fourth-year team option this offseason, an incredibly rare occurrence for players drafted in the top 5. And this is rare for good reason. Young players take time to develop, and sometimes you need the full 4 years and more to judge a draft pick. And Mario is making the Magic pay for yet another poor decision. Over the second half of this season, he has looked like the incredibly young, promising player once again. Dunking, draining threes, playing decent defense, passing and rebounding, Hezonja looks all over the court over the last 2 months. But is this the play of a kid who knows he is in a contract year, or is European Kobe finally making his appearance in the NBA and proving his worth of a top 5 pick? This video will take a look at these questions and dive into the history of Hezonja, where he is from, and some of the stories behind his bizarre bravado. Mario was born and raised in Croatia, and would stay there until 2012 when he would join Barcelona's basketball team as a professional. His first foray into professional basketball would take longer than other European prodigies such as Luka Doncic and Ricky Rubio, but when Hezonja cracked the first-team rotation in the 2014-2015 EuroLeague season, he announced his arrival to the basketball world. He would still come off the bench, but would play 16 minutes a game and score almost 8 points a game while shooting 38.2% from deep, and doing all of this in the second best basketball league in the entire world. NBA scouts and fans really began to take notice, and the hype really began when he went 8 for 8 from the three-point line in a Spanish league game. Then, stories of Hezonja recreating every Zach LaVine dunk in a practice after the 2015 dunk contest had fans wondering just how athletic this kid from Croatia was. And the draft would come around, and whilst many had him pegged as the perfect player for Orlando to take at the 5 spot, some thought New York or Philadelphia might reach and take him. But Philly would draft Okafor, and New York would take Porzingis, and the Magic would take Hezonja with the 5th pick in the draft, hoping that he could become a dominant two-way wing player. And Magic fans would have been excited as hell when he first stepped onto an NBA court. He drained a 3 from 27 feet before scoring a total of 8 points in his first 2 minutes. But then he would turn the ball over, foul somebody, and then turn it over again. The first 5 minutes of Hezonja's career are the perfect summary of his whole career to date. Highs and unbelievable lows. And part of this has to be attributed to him, but part of me thinks that a lot of this has to do with this situation. Playing for Orlando hasn't been easy for the last 3 years. From coaching changes to an organisation that can't figure out if they have a playoff team or not, there are so many things that create a tumultuous environment for a young player. Hezonja has played every position from point guard to power forward in his NBA career, and has come off the bench, started, and perhaps has had the most inconsistent minute levels of any player in the entire league. Hezonja would frequently go through stretches of not playing to suddenly getting 30 minutes a game, and then going back to getting 5 minutes of junk time play a game. And as Mario has said, it is hard to get a rhythm when playing in conditions like this, and basketball is ultimately a game of rhythm. Players work tirelessly in the gym to ensure that all of their jump shots and footwork on their moves are muscle memory, and that they don't have to think about them when they are on the court. This becomes easier when your role is consistent, when you know what to expect every night you step onto the court. But when you're in a situation like Mario, you have to think about what you are trying to do every night. Playing with the starters, then fit in, play defense, make cuts, and shoot open threes. If you're playing with the bench, shoot more, try and create for your teammates, and playing with a heap of different players. Playing less minutes, use more energy every minute you're on the court. Playing more minutes, maybe you need to pace yourself more, not exert as much every possession. These questions break up the rhythm of a basketball player, and can make it harder for some players to play well when they don't have a defined role. And it has become very clear that Mario is a player who needs his role defined and consistent. But part of the reason that Mario hasn't got a consistent role is his play has been far from advertised. Overseas, Hezonja shot 40% from 3, and it was expected that this would be one of the skills that best translated to the NBA. Shooting the basketball is the same no matter what the court, what the league. If you know how to shoot from 23 feet, you know how to shoot from 23 feet. But Mario hasn't been able to find his rhythm shooting from deep in the NBA, and has only shot 33.5% from the three-point line for his NBA career. On top of this, he turns the ball over quite a bit for such a low usage player, and struggles to defend most players on the court. This is obviously exacerbated by being played at the power forward sometimes, as the Magic experimented with making Hezonja a stretch 4. But that was an absolute disaster, as bigger players such as Blake Griffin and Kevin Love simply destroyed Mario and his confidence on the defensive end. So when you look at all this, it isn't that surprising that the Magic decided to opt out of his last year of his contract. But as touched on before, opting out is the fastest way to guarantee you lose any potential value they have. When teams opt out of a rookie deal, that player becomes an unrestricted free agent at the end of the deal, meaning that they, and in this case Hezonja, can go to whatever team they want to, and whichever team offers the most money and guaranteed years. So the Magic effectively gave up on Mario, as when teams do this, players are often insulted, and even if they are offered another deal with the original team, they will likely move on. And the decision in this instance has come back to bite Orlando hard, as Mario is playing the second half of this season like many expected him to play for his entire NBA career. He looks incredibly confident on the court and has been far more consistent since Frank Vogel gave him 20 to 30 consistent minutes every night from mid-December. This has easily been Hezonja's most consistent stretch of his playing career, as since the 13th of December when his minutes went up, he has averaged 13 points, 4.6 rebounds, 1.4 assists and 1.3 steals in just 23 minutes a game, all while shooting 48.2% from the field and 36% from three-point land. Much improved shooting splits and stats compared to the rest of his career. And not only are his stats better, but the way he is playing is incredibly different to his first 2 years and even the start of this season. Mario has been a lot more aggressive, and that is the biggest and most important change that he has made. As a confidence player, sometimes the best way to play is to fake it till you make it. Just force yourself to take the shots and the confidence will come with that. And it is working out for Hezonja. He's taking more shots than ever before, and they're going in a rate that is higher than ever before for him. Since he began starting again just before the All-Star break, his minutes are back up to 30 minutes a game, and he scored 17.7 points on just 13 shots a game in his 6 starts. Mario's confidence was through the roof, and as a result he began to turn the ball over less and play slightly better defense. In the stretch of starts, he managed to grab 2.3 steals a game, and while steals are definitely not the best indicator of defense, they show he is at least committed to disrupting passing lanes and staying focused on defense. But because the Orlando Magic front office live in a bizarre world of delusion, the team has once again moved Hezonja to the bench. I think they have finally realised that they might want to keep the Croatian small forward and trying to stop him playing bigger minutes and pumping his value. But in my mind, it is too late for them. If I was Mario, I wouldn't re-sign with the team that placed his career in turmoil and then gave up on him. Plus, the Magic are pretty clearly going to tank for another top pick, as they will fail to make the playoffs again, a common occurrence after the departure of Dwight Howard. And whilst Hezonja is looking like becoming a good player, he isn't going to have an impact on wins. In fact, because of his defensive limitations and the fact that he hasn't still fully developed defensively, he might actually help the Magic lose games. So for me, I see it as a huge win-win. Let Hezonja play as much as possible, lose as many games, and then restart this offseason if you're Orlando. But for Mario, heaps of teams will be calling his name and trying to get him to sign a team-friendly long-term deal. I think that the New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, and the Spurs would be my top 3 picks for teams to try and make a play for Hezonja, as well as maybe the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers. Versatile wings that can play the small forward and the shooting guard position are very rare in the NBA, especially those that can score and shoot. Teams will be willing to risk him not playing up to standards again by maybe giving him a 3-year deal with a team option. This kind of structure would give Mario 2 years of guaranteed money and allow whatever team that signed him to reap the reward if he turns out to be a great bench player. Plus, it would mean that when the deal ended, Mario would be 26 years old and eligible to sign the biggest contract of his life in the middle of his prime. A deal between 5 and 10 million in this range is what I see happening, but I think Hezonja will take role, minutes, and coaching staff heavily into consideration as well. The Boston Celtics are looking for bench scoring, and Brad Stevens not only loves versatile wing players, but he is exceptionally good at coaching them. Hezonja would easily take all of Abdel Nader's minutes, as well as allowing Boston a bit more size instead of playing Marcus Smart at the small forward position. But the lack of minutes in Boston might deter Hezonja here. The Spurs would be a very interesting prospect for Mario. They have plenty of history in developing European players and salvaging players' careers, and are always in playoff contention and are in desperate need of youth and athleticism. If things are as bad with Kawhi Leonard as rumoured, I could see the Spurs trying to get a few younger guys to try and develop themselves more depth and talent as a backup plan if he wants to leave. And then, the New York Knicks are the last of my 3 interesting spots for Hezonja, and is easily the highest risk and highest reward location for him. The Knicks will be without Porzingis for the start of the season, but will almost certainly be aiming for the playoffs. but between KP, Ntilikina, Hardaway, Moutier, Courtney Lee, and whoever they draft this offseason, they have the core talent down and will be time to try and win some more games. Hezonja would easily grab minutes as the Knicks have a glaring hole at small forward and would provide the shooting and secondary offense so desperately required next to Porzingis. Plus, the Unicorns' phenomenal rim protection would make any defensive lapse from Hezonja less damaging to the team. And on top of the almost guaranteed minutes and role, it would be incredibly interesting to see Hezonja, Porzingis, and Moutier all on the same team. The 4th, 5th, and 7th pick from the 2015 NBA draft, and the 3 players that Knicks fans wanted the most. It would be another reminder that the NBA can be an incredibly strange place, something that Mario Hezonja knows too well already. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to like and subscribe for NBA videos every Thursday and Sunday, and leave a comment below of what you think of Hezonja and his free agency decisions this offseason.